The champagne glass almost slipped from my hand when I saw it. That necklace. My mother's necklace. The one with 3 interlocking diamond circles that she wore every single day of her adult life until cancer took her from me 2 years ago. The one my father had custom-made for their 20th anniversary. The one Jonathan swore he'd keep safe in our home vault because he knew what it meant to me. The only piece of my mother I had left that I could touch, that still carried her memory in every gleaming surface. And there it was, draped around another woman's neck at my husband's company party. I stood frozen in the middle of the hotel ballroom, surrounded by 100 people celebrating Jonathan's 10 years at Sterling Financial Group, and all I could see was that necklace catching the light as Natalie Harrison threw her head back and laughed at something my husband said. They stood together by the bar, close enough that their shoulders touched, comfortable in a way that made my stomach turn. Natalie worked in Jonathan's department. I'd met her exactly 3 times in the past year. She was always polite, always professional, always seemingly dedicated to her job and her marriage. I'd never suspected anything. Why would I? Jonathan and I had been together for 8 years, married for 6. We had a beautiful home in the suburbs, successful careers, and plans for our future. Or so I thought. But that necklace didn't lie. My mother's necklace didn't accidentally end up around another woman's neck. Jonathan didn't mistakenly grab it from our vault where I kept it wrapped in the silk pouch my mother stored it in. He took it deliberately. He gave it to her deliberately. And she wore it here, tonight, to his party, in front of me and everyone we knew. The room started spinning. I grabbed the back of a nearby chair to steady myself, my fingers digging into the velvet upholstery. A colleague of Jonathan's, Bradley, I think his name, was asked if I was okay. I must have nodded or said something because he walked away, but I couldn't remember what words came out of my mouth. All my focus narrowed to that necklace, swaying slightly as Natalie moved, the diamonds catching the chandelier light exactly the way they used to when my mother would lean forward to kiss my forehead goodnight. How long had this been going on? How many times had Jonathan lied to my face? How many late nights at the office were actually spent with her? How many business trips that I supported, that I encouraged him to take for his career, were really just excuses to be with Natalie? And my mother's necklace. Of all the things he could have given her, he chose that. The one thing in our entire house that he knew was irreplaceable. The one possession I valued above everything else we owned. He took it and gave it to his mistress like it meant nothing. I watched them for another minute, unable to look away. Jonathan's hand rested on the small of her back as he guided her toward a group of executives. She smiled up at him with an ease that spoke of intimacy, of inside jokes and shared secrets. They moved like a couple. They looked like a couple. And suddenly, standing there in my black cocktail dress that I'd spent an hour getting ready in, doing my makeup perfectly and choosing jewelry that would complement Jonathan's new suit, I felt like the other woman at my own husband's event. The necklace glinted again as Natalie turned her head. I saw it clearly now, my mother's necklace, on another woman's body, at a party celebrating my husband's success. A success I'd supported through every late night, every stressful quarter, every moment of doubt he'd ever had about his career. I'd been there. I'd believed in him. I'd sacrificed my own time and energy to make sure he could focus on climbing the corporate ladder. And this was how he repaid me. Someone bumped into me, apologizing quickly before moving past. The contact jolted me back into my body. I realized I was shaking. My hands trembled as I set down my champagne glass on the nearest table, afraid I'd drop it. My heart pounded so hard I could feel it in my throat, making it difficult to breathe normally. I had to get out of here. I couldn't confront him now, not in front of all these people. Not when I felt like I might scream or cry or both. Not when every eye in the room would be on me, watching the betrayed wife make a scene. They'd remember that forever. Poor Simone, they'd whisper. So embarrassing. Couldn't keep her emotions in check. No, I wouldn't give them that story. I wouldn't give him that satisfaction. I turned and walked toward the exit, keeping my head high even though my vision blurred with tears I refused to let fall. Not here. Not now. I passed colleagues who smiled and tried to catch my attention, but I kept moving. Through the ballroom doors, past the hotel lobby, out into the cool evening air that hit my face like a slap. The valet asked if I needed my car. I shook my head. I couldn't drive like this. I couldn't do anything but stand there on the sidewalk, gulping air, trying to process what I'd just seen. My phone buzzed in my clutch. Jonathan's name lit up the screen. Where did you go? People are asking about you. People were asking about me. Not him wondering where his wife disappeared to. Not him concerned about my well-being. Just worried about appearances, about what people might think if the man of the hour's wife wasn't standing beside him like a good accessory. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my phone and took a screenshot of his message. Then I called a car service. I'd come back for my vehicle tomorrow. Right now, I just needed to go home. The ride back to our house, was it still our house? Took 20 minutes that felt like 20 hours. I stared out the window at the passing lights, at other people's lives happening in illuminated windows, and wondered how many of them were built on lies like mine. How many other women were sitting in cars or trains or buses right now, having just discovered their entire marriage was fiction. When I got home, the house felt different. It looked the same, the furniture we'd chosen together, the art on the walls, the photos of us smiling on vacation. But it all felt hollow now, like a stage set rather than a home. How much of our life together had been real? How much had I imagined or wished into existence? I walked straight to Jonathan's study, a room he'd claimed as his private workspace when we bought the house. I'd always respected that boundary, never going through his things, trusting him completely. What a fool I'd been. I opened the desk drawers one by one. At first I found nothing unusual. Work files, old tax returns, office supplies. But then, in the bottom drawer hidden under a stack of old magazines, I found a small box. Inside was a receipt from the jewelry store downtown. Dated 3 weeks ago. Diamond earrings. $2,000. My hands shook as I held the receipt. Jonathan had been complaining about money lately, saying we needed to cut back on expenses, that his bonus wasn't as big as expected. Meanwhile, he was spending thousands on jewelry for another woman. Jewelry he'd never bought for me in the entire time we'd been together. I sat down in his leather chair, the receipt crumpling in my fist. The betrayal wasn't just about sex or affection or whatever emotional connection he had with Natalie. It was about the lies. The calculated deception. The way he'd looked me in the eye every single day and acted like everything was fine while carrying on a whole separate life behind my back. My phone rang. Jonathan again. I let it go to voicemail. Then I listened to the message. Simone, what the hell? You can't just leave like that. I'm still at the party and people keep asking where you went. This is my night. Call me back. His night. Not our night. His night. That's all it had ever been, wasn't it? His career, his success, his happiness. I was just supposed to stand there and smile and be grateful for the privilege of being Mrs. Jonathan Reed. Well, I was done being grateful. I took photos of the receipt with my phone. Then I went to our bedroom and opened the vault where I kept my mother's necklace. The silk pouch sat there empty. Seeing that empty pouch hurt more than anything else. Jonathan hadn't just taken the necklace. He'd carefully removed it, put the pouch back, and closed the vault, probably hoping I wouldn't check for weeks or months. He'd planned this. He'd calculated how to steal from me without getting caught. I closed the vault and sat on the edge of our bed. The bed we'd shared for 6 years. How many times had he lain here beside me after being with her? How many times had he whispered that he loved me when those words meant nothing? My phone rang a third time. This time it was a text from Jonathan's colleague, Bradley. Hey Simone, hope everything's okay. Saw you leave in a hurry. Let me know if you need anything. At least someone had noticed I left. At least someone cared enough to check on me. I didn't respond to Bradley either. Instead, I went to my laptop and started searching. I needed a lawyer. A good one. One who specialized in separations where one spouse had been unfaithful. One who could help me figure out how to protect myself and get back what was mine. It was almost midnight when Jonathan finally came home. I heard his car in the driveway, his key in the lock. He called my name as he walked through the house. I stayed in the bedroom, sitting in the chair by the window, waiting. He appeared in the doorway, his tie loosened, looking irritated rather than concerned. What was that about? He asked. You embarrassed me tonight. I stared at him. This man I'd loved for 8 years. This man I'd built a life with. This stranger who'd stolen my mother's necklace and given it to another woman. Where's my necklace, Jonathan? His face went pale. What? My mother's necklace. The one from the vault. Where is it? He opened his mouth, then closed it. I watched him try to come up with a lie, watched him calculate what story might work. Finally he said, I don't know what you're talking about. I saw it tonight, I said, my voice steady despite the rage burning through me. Around Natalie Harrison's neck. At your party. My mother's necklace on your mistress. The color drained completely from his face now. Simone, I can explain. Don't. I stood up, facing him. Don't you dare try to explain this away. You took the one thing in this house that mattered more to me than anything else, and you gave it to the woman you're sleeping with. There's no explanation that makes that okay. You took a step toward me. It's not what you think. Really? Because I think you've been having an affair with Natalie. I think you've been lying to me for months. I think you stole my mother's necklace and gave it to her like it was yours to give. Am I wrong about any of that? He didn't answer. That silence told me everything. Get out, I said quietly. Simone, please, we need to talk about this. Get out of this room. Sleep somewhere else tonight. Tomorrow we'll figure out what comes next. But right now, I can't even look at you. For a moment I thought he might argue. But something in my face must have convinced him. He turned and left, closing the door behind him. I sat back down in the chair and finally let myself cry. Not for him. Not for our marriage. But for the version of myself who'd walked into that party a few hours ago, still believing in love and trust and partnership. That woman was gone. In her place was someone harder, someone angrier, someone who would never be that naive again. And tomorrow the real work would begin. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that necklace around Natalie's neck, saw Jonathan's hand on her back, saw the comfortable intimacy between them that spoke of familiarity and time. Instead, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my mind racing through every moment of the past year. When had it started? How had I missed it? What signs had I ignored because I wanted to believe everything was fine? Around 3 in the morning, I gave up on sleep and went downstairs. The house was quiet. Jonathan had taken the guest room, and I could hear his soft snoring through the closed door as I passed. The sound made me angry. He could sleep. He could lie there peacefully while my entire world crumbled around me. I made coffee and opened my laptop at the kitchen table. The search history I'd started before Jonathan came home had yielded several names of attorneys who specialized in separation cases. I bookmarked 3 with the best reviews and made a note to call them first thing Monday morning. But I needed more than a lawyer. I needed evidence. I needed to know exactly what I was dealing with before I made my next move. I started with our bank statements. Jonathan handled most of our finances, insisting it was easier if one person managed everything. I'd agreed because I trusted him, because I was busy with my own career, because it seemed like one less thing to worry about. Now I realized how stupid that had been. I logged into our joint account and started scrolling through months of transactions. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Mortgage, utilities, groceries, gas. Normal expenses for a normal married couple living a normal life. Then I saw it. A charge from the Riverside Hotel downtown. $300. Dated 2 months ago on a Tuesday afternoon. I remembered that day. Jonathan had texted me saying he had to work late on a project presentation. I'd eaten dinner alone, watched a movie, gone to bed before he got home. I kept scrolling. Another hotel charge. Different place this time, the Harbor Inn. 4 weeks ago. A Thursday. Jonathan had said he had drinks with clients that night. More charges appeared as I went further back. Hotels. Restaurants I'd never been to. A weekend charge at a bed and breakfast 2 hours north during a time when Jonathan claimed he was at a work conference. The conference had been real, I'd seen the emails about it, but apparently, he'd extended his stay without telling me. My stomach turned as the evidence mounted. This wasn't a recent affair. This had been going on for at least 8 months, maybe longer. 8 months of lies, of deception, of him coming home to me and acting like everything was normal. I took screenshots of every suspicious transaction. Then I opened our credit card statements. If he was trying to hide things, he might have been using the credit cards more than the debit account. I was right. The credit cards told an even worse story. Jewelry purchases, not just the $2,000 earrings I'd found the receipt for. There was another charge from 6 months ago for $1,500 at the same jewelry store. Flowers sent to an address I didn't recognize. Dinner reservations at expensive restaurants on nights when he told me he was eating at his desk. And there, buried in a statement from 3 months ago, was the charge that made my blood run cold. $2,800 at Lockwood Jewelers. The date was exactly 1 week before I'd last checked on my mother's necklace in the vault. He'd had it appraised. That's what that charge was. He'd taken my mother's necklace to get it professionally cleaned and valued, then given it to Natalie like it was a gift he'd purchased for her. The rage that filled me was different from anything I'd felt before. This wasn't just betrayal. This was theft. This was deliberate, calculated cruelty. I saved every screenshot to a secure cloud account Jonathan didn't know about. Then I kept digging. His phone records were next. I had access through our family plan, though I'd never bothered to look before. Why would I? I trusted him. The call logs showed exactly what I expected. Multiple calls to Natalie's number, sometimes lasting 30 minutes or more. Calls made during his commute, during lunch breaks, late at night after I'd gone to bed. They talked constantly. Text message records didn't show the content, just that messages had been sent. Hundreds of them. Back and forth all day long, every single day. I sat back in my chair, the coffee cold in my cup, and stared at the evidence spread across my laptop screen. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a moment of weakness or a one-time thing he regretted. This was a full relationship, complete with constant communication, expensive gifts, and regular hotel visits. Jonathan had essentially been living a double life. Husband to me at home, boyfriend to Natalie everywhere else. The sun started rising around 6. I heard movement upstairs and knew Jonathan was awake. I closed my laptop and waited. He came down 10 minutes later, already dressed for the day in casual weekend clothes. He stopped when he saw me at the table. "Did you sleep at all?" he asked. "No." He poured himself coffee, his movements careful, like he was approaching a dangerous animal. "Simone, we need to talk about last night." "Yes, we do." I opened my laptop again. "But first I have some questions. And I want honest answers, Jonathan. I already know most of it, so if you lie to me right now, you'll only make this worse." He sat down across from me, his face cautious. "Okay. How long have you been sleeping with Natalie?" He flinched. "I'm not." "Don't." I turned the laptop toward him, showing him the bank statements with the hotel charges highlighted. "I have 8 months of evidence right here. Hotel rooms, expensive dinners, jewelry purchases." "How long, Jonathan?" His jaw tightened. 10 months. 10 months. Almost a year. Nearly a full year of lying to my face every single day. "And my mother's necklace? Why would you give her that?" "She admired it," he said quietly. "She saw a picture of it in a photo at my office. She said it was beautiful. I wanted to give her something special." "So you stole from me?" "I didn't steal it. It's our property, both of ours." "No." My voice was sharp. "That necklace was mine. It was my mother's, given to me when she died. You had no right to touch it, let alone give it away to your mistress." He ran his hands through his hair. I know it was wrong. I wasn't thinking clearly. You just what? Forgot you had a wife. Forgot that necklace was the last thing I had of my mother? I'm sorry." "You're not sorry you did it. You're sorry you got caught." I pulled up another screen. "The Riverside Hotel. Tuesday afternoon 2 months ago. You told me you were working late." His face went red. "The Harbor Inn. Thursday night 4 weeks ago. You said you had drinks with clients." "Simone. The bed and breakfast in Canton. You extended your work conference by 2 days and didn't tell me. Were those clients too?" He didn't answer. "You didn't have to." I closed the laptop. "I'm calling a lawyer Monday morning. I want a legal separation. I want you out of this house. And I want my mother's necklace back. You can't just throw away 6 years of marriage." "I'm not throwing it away. You already did that when you started sleeping with Natalie 10 months ago." "I love you," he said, and for the first time since sitting down, he looked genuinely upset. "I made a mistake, but I love you. We can fix this." "You don't love me. If you loved me, you wouldn't have spent 10 months lying to me. You wouldn't have stolen my mother's necklace. You wouldn't have spent thousands of our money on another woman while telling me we needed to cut back on expenses." He opened his mouth to respond, but I held up my hand. "I don't want to hear it. I don't want your apologies or your excuses. I just want you to be honest about one thing. Does Natalie know you're married?" He looked down at his coffee. "Yes." "And she doesn't care?" "Her marriage isn't good. She and her husband have problems." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "So you're both cheaters. How nice that you found each other." "That's not fair." "Fair? You want to talk about fair?" "Nothing about this is fair, Jonathan. You've had 10 months of doing whatever you wanted while I sat here being a faithful wife. You've had your fun, your secret relationship, your expensive gifts and hotel rooms. What have I had?" "What?" "Every single day lies." I stood up. "I'm going to take a shower. When I come back down, I want you gone for the day. Go to Natalie's, go to a friend's, I don't care. But I need you out of this house while I figure out my next steps. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore." I left him sitting at the table and went upstairs. In the shower, I finally let myself break down completely. I cried until my throat hurt, until the hot water ran cold, until there were no tears left. But by the time I got out and dried off, I felt different. Clear. The shock and grief were still there, but underneath them was something stronger. Determination. Jonathan had taken 10 months from me. 10 months of my life, my trust, my belief in our marriage. He'd stolen my mother's necklace and given it to another woman. He'd lied and cheated and deceived me in ways I was probably still discovering. But he wasn't going to take anything else from me. Not my dignity, not my future, not one more day of my life. I got dressed and went back downstairs. Jonathan was gone, his car no longer in the driveway. Good. I opened my laptop again and started making lists. Everything I needed to do, every step I needed to take. Call lawyers. Gather more evidence. Secure my own finances. Change passwords. Document everything. Then I did something I'd been avoiding because it felt too painful. I looked up Natalie Harrison on social media. Her accounts were mostly private, but her profile pictures were public. In the most recent one, she wore my mother's necklace. She'd posted it 3 days ago with the caption, "Feeling blessed and beautiful. #grateful, #treat yourself." The anger that surged through me was ice cold. She knew. She had to know that necklace wasn't meant for her. She'd probably seen pictures of me wearing it at company events. But she didn't care. She wore it anyway, flaunted it publicly, acted like it was hers. I took a screenshot of the post. More evidence. Then I kept scrolling through what I could see of her profile. She was married, that much Jonathan had told me the truth about. Her husband's name was Thomas. He appeared in older photos, a nice-looking man with kind eyes and an easy smile. The most recent photos didn't include him. Just Natalie alone, Natalie with girlfriends, Natalie at work events. Work events where Jonathan was also present. I found 3 photos from the past 6 months where they appeared together in group shots, always standing near each other, always with that comfortable familiarity I'd noticed at the party. I wondered if Thomas knew. Did he have any idea his wife was sleeping with her colleague? Or was he just as clueless as I'd been? My phone buzzed. A text from Jonathan. "I'm at Bradley's place. I'll stay here tonight. We need to talk more when you're ready." I didn't respond. Instead, I called the first lawyer on my list and left a message requesting a consultation as soon as possible. Then I called my best friend Renee. She answered on the second ring. "Simone? What's wrong? You never call this early on Sunday. Can you come over? I need to tell you something." "I'll be there in 20 minutes. While I waited for Renee, I made more coffee and continued documenting everything I'd found. By the time she arrived, I had a folder on my laptop labeled Evidence, containing 43 screenshots and photos. Renee took one look at my face and pulled me into a hug. "What happened?" I told her everything. The party, the necklace, the affair, the evidence I'd found through the night. She listened without interrupting, her expression growing angrier with each detail. When I finished, she said, "I'm going to kill him." Despite everything, I almost smiled. "Get in line. 10 months? He's been doing this for 10 months. At least. Maybe longer. And your mother's necklace. Simone, she shook her head. That's unforgivable. That's not just cheating. That's cruel." "I know. What are you going to do? Separate? Divorce eventually? Get my necklace back? Make sure he doesn't get to walk away from this like it was no big deal." Renee nodded. "Good. You need a killer lawyer. I'm calling 3 tomorrow for consultations. And you need to protect yourself financially. Empty the joint accounts before he does." I hadn't thought of that. "Can I do that?" "If it's a joint account, yes. At least half of it is yours. Take it out and put it somewhere he can't access. Trust me, I've seen this happen to other people. The cheating spouse will drain accounts out of spite or panic." She was right. I pulled up the bank app on my phone. Our joint savings had $38,000. I transferred half of it to my personal checking account while Renee watched. "Good," she said. "What else?" "I need to figure out how to get the necklace back without just asking Natalie for it. If I confront her directly, she could refuse or make things difficult. Can you report it stolen?" "Maybe. I have proof it was in our vault. I have the receipt showing Jonathan had it appraised. And I have screenshots of Natalie wearing it on social media. That's pretty solid evidence." "I just want it back," I said, my voice breaking. "I don't care about the money he spent on her or the hotels or any of it. I just want my mother's necklace back." Renee squeezed my hand. "We'll get it back. I promise." We spent the rest of the day planning my next steps. Renee helped me change every password Jonathan might know, set up new email accounts for communication with lawyers, and create a timeline of the affair using the evidence I'd gathered. By evening, I felt more in control. The pain was still there, sharp and constant, but I had a plan now. I had direction. Jonathan texted 3 more times asking when he could come home. I finally responded around 8. "Tomorrow. We need to establish some ground rules." His response came immediately. "Okay. Thank you. I love you." I didn't reply to that. Those words meant nothing anymore. Renee stayed until almost 10, making sure I ate something and promising to check on me every day. After she left, I went through the house and removed all the photos of Jonathan and me together. I couldn't look at them right now. Maybe someday I'd be able to remember the good times without feeling sick, but not yet. I put the photos in a box in the garage, along with the gifts he'd given me over the years. My birthday presents, anniversary gifts, random surprises. All of it felt tainted now. In the bedroom I changed the sheets. I couldn't sleep in the bed we'd shared knowing what I knew now. Fresh sheets didn't erase the betrayal, but at least they helped me feel like I was taking back my space. That night I finally slept. Not well, not peacefully, but I slept. And when I woke up Monday morning, I felt ready to face whatever came next. The first lawyer called me back at 9. I had a consultation scheduled for Wednesday. The second lawyer called an hour later. Another consultation for Thursday. The third lawyer's office said they'd call back after reviewing my case details. At noon, Jonathan came home. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept well either. "Good. Can we talk?" he asked. "Yes." "Sit down." We sat in the living room on opposite ends of the couch that suddenly felt miles wide. "Here's what's going to happen," I said. "You're going to move into the guest room permanently. We're not sharing a bedroom anymore. You're going to get my mother's necklace back from Natalie by the end of this week. I don't care how you do it, but you're going to get it back. And you're going to give me complete transparency. Bank accounts, credit cards, phone records, everything. If you want any chance of this separation being civil, you'll cooperate fully. And if I do all that, will you consider working on our marriage?" I looked at him. This man I'd once loved so much. "No." His face fell. "Simone, there's nothing to work on. You destroyed our marriage. You made a choice every single day for 10 months to lie to me and be with her. This isn't fixable. People recover from affairs all the time. Good for them. I'm not going to be one of those people. I deserve better than spending years wondering if you're really working late or seeing her again. I deserve better than rebuilding trust with someone who stole from me." He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "What about the house? We'll figure that out with lawyers. Right now you're living here until we have a formal separation agreement. After that, one of us will buy the other out or we'll sell it. I don't care which. I can't afford to buy you out. Then I guess we're selling." The house had been my dream, the place I'd thought we'd raise children and grow old together. But it was just a building now. I could find another dream. Jonathan nodded slowly. "I'll get the necklace back. By Friday." "I'll try." "Don't try. Do it. That's not negotiable." He left the room and I heard him go upstairs to the guest room. I sat there alone, looking around the living room that no longer felt like home, and wondered how I'd get through this. But I would. One day at a time, one step at a time, I would get through this. And I'd come out the other side stronger than before. The lawyer consultation on Wednesday went better than I expected. Margaret Holloway was sharp, experienced, and didn't waste time with sympathy or platitudes. She looked at my evidence, asked direct questions, and laid out exactly what a legal separation would entail. "You have a strong case," she said, reviewing the screenshots on her tablet. "Financial infidelity, theft of personal property with sentimental value, documented evidence of adultery. If you want to pursue this aggressively, we can. I want my necklace back. I want a fair split of our assets. And I want out of this marriage without years of fighting." Margaret nodded. "Then we'll aim for an uncontested separation. The necklace is trickier because it's technically marital property if acquired during the marriage. It wasn't. My mother gave it to me before I married Jonathan. I have documentation proving that. Even better. Then we have grounds for a theft claim if he doesn't return it voluntarily." She made notes on her laptop. "When was the last time you verified it was in your possession?" 3 months ago. I checked on it specifically before going to a charity gala. "And you have proof that Jonathan had it appraised?" I showed her the credit card statement with the Lockwood Jewelers charge. "This date is 1 week before I realized it was missing." "Perfect. We can use this. Let me draft a formal letter demanding its return within 5 business days. If the other woman refuses to surrender it, we can file a police report for theft and a civil claim." The thought of involving police made this feel suddenly more real. But if that's what it took to get my mother's necklace back, I'd do it. "Do it," I said. Margaret scheduled a follow-up appointment for the next week and sent me home with paperwork to complete. I felt better having her on my side, having someone who knew how to fight these battles. Thursday's consultation with the second lawyer was less impressive. He seemed more interested in encouraging reconciliation than helping me separate. I thanked him politely and left, knowing Margaret was the right choice. Friday morning, Jonathan still hadn't returned my necklace. "I'm working on it," he said when I confronted him over coffee. "Natalie's being difficult." That's not my problem. You have until 5 o'clock today or I'm filing a police report. His eyes widened. You can't do that. Watch me. You stole my property and gave it to another woman. That's theft. My lawyer already has all the documentation ready. It'll ruin her reputation at work. It'll ruin mine. You should have thought about that before you gave away my mother's necklace. He left for work looking panicked. Good. Let him sweat. At 3 o'clock my phone rang from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer but something made me pick up. Hello? Is this Simone Reed? A man's voice, unfamiliar. Yes. Who's this? My name is Thomas Harrison. I'm Natalie Harrison's husband. I think we need to talk. My heart started pounding. How did you get my number? From my wife's phone. Look, I know what's been going on between her and your husband. I just found out today. There's a lot we need to discuss. Can we meet somewhere? I sat down, my legs suddenly weak. You just found out today? Yes. Jonathan showed up at our house this morning demanding some necklace back. Natalie and I got into a huge fight and she finally admitted everything. The necklace. Jonathan had actually gone to get it. Did he get it? I asked. She gave it to him. He left about an hour ago. Relief flooded through me. My mother's necklace was coming back. Where do you want to meet? I asked Thomas. We agreed on a coffee shop downtown, neutral territory where neither of us would feel uncomfortable. I got there first and found a corner table, my hands shaking slightly as I ordered a latte I didn't really want. Thomas arrived 10 minutes later. He looked exactly like his photos, tall, professionally dressed, with kind eyes that now held the same pain and betrayal I saw in the mirror every day. He sat down across from me. Thank you for meeting with me. Thank you for calling. We sat in awkward silence for a moment before he said, How long did you know? I found out Saturday night at Jonathan's company party. Your wife was wearing my necklace. How long did you know? About 4 hours. Jonathan showing up this morning was the first I'd heard anything was wrong. He ran his hand over his face. 10 months. She admitted it's been going on for 10 months. That's what Jonathan told me too. Did you have any idea? Any suspicion at all? I shook my head. None. I trusted him completely. He traveled for work, worked late sometimes, but I never questioned it. We were solid. Or I thought we were. Same. Natalie would say she had late meetings or work events. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? We've been married for 5 years. I thought we were happy. 8 years for us. 6 married, 2 dating before that. Thomas looked at his untouched coffee. She won't tell me how it started. Just keeps saying it happened and she's sorry and it's over now. Is it over? She says it is. Says she'll never contact him again. But how can I believe that? How can I believe anything she says now? You can't, I said quietly. That's the worst part. Everything becomes a lie. Every memory, every moment you thought was real, you start questioning. He met my eyes. Exactly. I keep thinking about the past year, about all the times she said she loved me or we made plans for our future. Was any of it real? Or was she just going through the motions while carrying on with your husband? I don't know. I ask myself the same questions about Jonathan. We talked for over an hour, sharing stories, comparing timelines, piecing together the affair from both sides. It helped, somehow, knowing someone else understood exactly what this felt like. Someone who wasn't a friend offering sympathy but another person living through the same betrayal. What are you going to do? Thomas asked eventually. Separate. Divorce eventually. I've already hired a lawyer. There's no going back from this for me. He nodded slowly. I keep thinking I should try to save my marriage. That's what you're supposed to do, right? But every time I think about forgiving her, I remember her lying to my face. I remember her choosing him over me every single day for 10 months. You don't owe her forgiveness. You don't owe her another chance. You only owe yourself honesty about whether you can actually move past this. Can you? No, I said without hesitation. I know some people can forgive affairs and rebuild. But I can't. And I shouldn't have to. I did nothing wrong. I was faithful and honest and loved him completely. He's the one who destroyed this. Natalie keeps saying I'm being too harsh. That everyone makes mistakes. Mistakes are accidental. Mistakes are one-time things you regret immediately. What they did was intentional and sustained. That's not a mistake. That's a choice they made over and over again. Thomas was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Thank you. I needed to hear that. Everyone keeps telling me to think about our marriage, to consider counseling, to work on forgiveness. But I don't want to do any of that. Then don't. You get to decide what you can and can't live with. He smiled for the first time since sitting down. My lawyer is going to love you. You hired a lawyer? Called one this afternoon. Meeting with him Monday. I'm done trying to save something she already destroyed. Good for you. We exchanged phone numbers before leaving, agreeing to stay in touch. It felt strange, forming a friendship based on mutual betrayal, but also strangely comforting. Thomas understood in ways no one else could. When I got home, Jonathan's car was in the driveway. I found him in the living room, and there on the coffee table was the silk pouch I'd kept my mother's necklace in. I picked it up with shaking hands and opened it. The necklace was inside, the 3 interlocking circles gleaming in the afternoon light. I held it close, feeling the weight of it, the familiar coolness of the diamonds against my skin. I got it back, Jonathan said quietly. I see that. Natalie's husband knows everything now. It's over. The affair is completely over. I put the necklace around my neck, fastening the clasp. The affair was over the moment I found out about it. This doesn't change anything between us. But I got it back. I did what you asked. You returned something you stole. That doesn't earn you points. That's just correcting one small part of what you've done wrong. What do you want from me? Nothing. I don't want anything from you except cooperation with the separation. I met Thomas, Jonathan said, at their house this morning. He's a good guy. I feel terrible about what this is doing to him. You should have thought about that 10 months ago. I know. I wasn't thinking about anyone but myself. At least he was being honest about something. I touched the necklace at my throat, feeling my mother's presence in a way I hadn't since realizing it was gone. Thank you for returning it. But this doesn't change my mind about us. I know. I left him sitting there and went upstairs to our room, my room now. I stood in front of the mirror, looking at the necklace against my skin, and for the first time in a week I felt like I had a piece of myself back. My phone buzzed. A text from Thomas. Thanks again for meeting today. It helped more than you know. Let's stay in touch. I sent back, definitely. We're in this together now. And we were. 2 people who'd trusted the wrong partners, who'd believed in marriages that turned out to be built on lies. But we'd survived the discovery. We'd made it through the worst of the shock. Now came the hard part, building new lives from the ruins of our old ones. Over the next 2 weeks, Thomas and I met 3 more times. What started as shared grief transformed into genuine friendship. We understood each other in ways our other friends couldn't. When I told Renee about a hard day, she offered sympathy. When I told Thomas, he just nodded and said, "Yeah, I had one of those yesterday too." It was different with someone who was living through the same nightmare. We met at the same coffee shop each time, comparing notes on our lawyers, our spouse's behavior, and our own emotional states that seemed to shift hourly between rage, grief, and determination. Natalie's been sleeping in the guest room, Thomas told me during our 3rd meeting. She keeps asking when we can talk about reconciliation. I told her there's nothing to reconcile. She made her choice. How's she taking it? Not well. She cries a lot. Tells me she made a mistake and loves me. But then I remember her wearing that necklace, flaunting it, and I can't feel sorry for her. I touched the necklace at my throat. I'd been wearing it every day since getting it back, needing that physical connection to my mother, to something real and true. The necklace is what did it for me too. The affair was bad enough, but that necklace? That was cruel in a way I can't forgive. Jonathan didn't tell you he gave it to her? No. He let me believe it was safely locked away. He knew how much it meant to me and did it anyway. Thomas shook his head. They're remarkably similar, you know. Both willing to lie constantly, both able to justify their choices, both acting like they're the victims now that they've been caught. Have you confronted her about the hotel rooms? I went through our credit card statements like you suggested. Found a dozen charges she'd claimed were work expenses. Work dinners that were actually romantic restaurants. An overnight stay she said was a company retreat. She doesn't even try to deny it anymore. Just says she's sorry over and over like that fixes anything. Jonathan does the same thing. Sorry, sorry, sorry. Like the word has any meaning after 10 months of lies. We sat quietly for a moment, drinking our coffee, comfortable in our shared bitterness. Then Thomas said something that surprised me. You know what the worst part is? I keep wondering if I should have known. If there were signs I missed because I didn't want to see them. I've thought about that too. But I don't think we missed signs. I think they were just good liars. Maybe. Or maybe we trusted too much. Is that our fault though? Should we have been suspicious of our own spouses? No, he said firmly. No, we shouldn't have. Marriage should mean something. It should mean you can trust the person completely. We did nothing wrong by believing in them. Tell that to the voice in my head that keeps saying I was naive. You weren't naive. You were faithful and honest. They're the ones who betrayed that. It helped hearing him say it. Believing it was harder. My lawyer sent the separation paperwork to Jonathan's lawyer yesterday. I told him. Margaret says if he signs without contesting anything, we could be legally separated within 60 days. Will he sign? I think so. He knows he doesn't have much choice. I have all the evidence. Fighting me would just mean it all comes out in court, and his reputation at work is already shaky since people at the party saw what happened. What did happen at the party? You left before I arrived. I explained about seeing the necklace, about leaving quietly, about Jonathan's text asking where I'd gone instead of being concerned about me. He texted about people asking about you? While you were having a breakdown? Yeah. That was when I knew for sure our marriage was over. Even before I confirmed the affair, that text told me everything about how little I actually mattered to him. Thomas's jaw tightened. Natalie did something similar. When I confronted her and got angry, she accused me of overreacting. Said I was being dramatic. Can you believe that? I find out about a 10-month affair and I'm being dramatic for being upset. They're playing from the same playbook. Minimize, deny, shift blame. Well, it's not working. My lawyer says I have grounds for a fault-based divorce because of the adultery. It'll cost her more in the settlement. Are you going for fault-based? I'm considering it. Part of me wants to make this as difficult for her as she made my life. But another part just wants it over quickly. I get that. Some days I want to fight Jonathan on everything just to make him hurt the way he hurt me. Other days I just want him out of my life as fast as possible. What usually wins? Getting him out. I'm tired, Thomas. I'm so tired of thinking about this, of reliving it, of being angry. I want my life back. He nodded. Yeah, me too. We were quiet again before Thomas said, "Can I ask you something personal?" Sure. Do you think they actually loved each other? Or was it just sex and excitement? I'd wondered about that myself. I don't know. Jonathan said he loved me when I confronted him, but how can I believe that? How can he love me and do what he did? Exactly. Natalie says she loves me too. Says what she had with Jonathan wasn't real love, just a mistake. But how does someone make the same mistake for 10 months? They don't. It wasn't a mistake. It was a choice they kept making. Do you think they're still in contact? The question I'd been afraid to voice out loud. Probably. Jonathan swears he's cut all contact, but I don't believe him. They work together. They see each other every day. Natalie quit her job, Thomas said suddenly. 2 days ago. She said she couldn't stay at a place where she'd see Jonathan constantly. Said it would make it too hard to move forward with me. Is she moving forward with you? She wants to. I haven't decided if I'm going to let her try. What's making you consider it? He sighed. Habit maybe? We've been together 5 years. It's scary to throw that away and start over. And some part of me, the stupid part, remembers how happy we used to be and wonders if we could get that back. Can you though? Can you ever trust her again? Honestly? No. I don't think so. Every time she's late coming home, every time her phone buzzes, I'll wonder. I'll spend the rest of our marriage being suspicious. That's no way to live. Then you have your answer. He smiled sadly. Yeah, I guess I do. That night, after leaving Thomas at the coffee shop, I sat in my car for a long time thinking about trust. About how Jonathan had broken something in me that I didn't know if I could ever repair. How the next relationship, if I ever had another one, would start with me carrying this baggage. Would I ever fully trust anyone again? Would I always be looking for signs of betrayal, for evidence of lies? I didn't know. And that made me sad in a different way than the affair itself did. When I got home, Jonathan was in the kitchen making dinner. The guest room arrangement had settled into a routine. We coexisted in the house like roommates, polite but distant. I'm making pasta if you want some, he offered. No thanks. I ate already. You've been out a lot lately. There was a question in his tone. I didn't know him answers, but I answered anyway. Meeting with a friend. Which friend? No one you know. That was technically true. He knew Thomas's name, knew he was Natalie's husband, but they'd only met once during the confrontation over the necklace. Jonathan looked like he wanted to press for more information but thought better of it. The lawyer sent over the separation agreement. I reviewed it with my attorney today. And? Most of it's fair. I have a few questions about the asset split, but nothing major. We should have this finalized within the month. Within the month. 1 month and our marriage would be legally over. Good, I said. Is this really what you want? I looked at him. Yes. You won't even consider counseling? No. Other couples survive affairs. I'm not other couples. This is my choice and I choose to leave. He turned back to his pasta. Fine. I went upstairs, exhausted from the conversation, from the day, from everything. But when I got into bed that night, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. Maybe not hope for reconciliation or fixing what was broken, but hope that on the other side of this separation, there was a life waiting for me. A better life. One built on honesty and self-respect instead of lies and betrayal. The next morning, Thomas texted me. Can we meet today? Something happened. I called him immediately. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong exactly. But I found something you should see. Can you come over? I don't want to discuss this in public. He gave me his address. 30 minutes later, I pulled up to a beautiful house in a neighborhood I'd driven through before but never stopped in. Thomas met me at the door. Thanks for coming. Sorry for the mysterious text. What did you find? He led me to his home office and showed me his computer screen. I was going through Natalie's laptop last night. She doesn't know I have her passwords. Look at this. It was an email chain between Natalie and Jonathan. Recent. From 2 days ago. My heart sank as I read. They were still talking. Not about getting back together or meeting up, but discussing how to handle the situation with their spouses. How to minimize damage. What to admit to and what to keep quiet about. They're coordinating their stories, I said. Yeah. There's more. Thomas clicked to another email. This one from 3 weeks ago before everything came out. Jonathan was asking Natalie to be careful with the necklace, saying I'd been asking about it. He knew you were looking for it and still let her keep wearing it, Thomas said. The betrayal hit me all over again. It wasn't enough that he'd given it away. He'd known I was looking for it and still didn't return it. Can you forward these to me? I asked. Already did. Check your email. I pulled out my phone and there they were. Evidence that the lies continued even after being caught. Thank you for showing me this. We're in this together, he said. If they're still coordinating, we should be too. What do you mean? I mean, maybe we stop handling this separately. Maybe we work together to make sure they actually face consequences for what they did. What kind of consequences are you thinking? Thomas leaned back in his chair. I'm not sure yet. But I know this: they've been controlling the narrative, deciding what we know and when we know it. Maybe it's time we take control instead. I thought about Margaret's offer to pursue an aggressive separation. About all the evidence I'd gathered. About the fact that Jonathan and Natalie were still talking, still planning, still putting their interests ahead of their spouses. What did you have in mind? I asked. Let's meet with both our lawyers together. See if there's a way to coordinate the legal proceedings so they can't play us against each other. My lawyer would probably love that. She's all about strategic advantage. Mine too. And there's something else. What? Jonathan's company party. Where you saw the necklace. There's another big company event coming up next month. An awards dinner where Jonathan's supposed to receive recognition for his team's performance. So what if we both showed up? Together. As each other's dates. I stared at him. You want to show up to his award dinner with me as your date? Not as a romantic date. As a statement. As proof that we know everything and we're united. That they don't get to sneak around or minimize what they did. It was bold. It was public. It was exactly the kind of thing that would make Jonathan and Natalie face the full weight of their actions. They'd hate that, I said slowly. Exactly. It would be humiliating for them. They humiliated us first. He was right. They'd humiliated us by carrying on an affair for 10 months. By lying to our faces. By stealing and betraying and treating us like we didn't matter. Maybe it was time they felt a fraction of what they'd put us through. Okay, I said. Let's do it. Thomas smiled. Not a happy smile, but a determined one. Then we need a plan. We spent the next hour laying it out. How we'd coordinate with our lawyers. How we'd handle the award dinner. How we'd make sure Jonathan and Natalie knew that while they'd been busy covering their tracks, we'd been busy taking back control. By the time I left Thomas's house, I felt different. Stronger. I wasn't just a victim anymore, passively accepting whatever Jonathan decided to tell me or not tell me. I was fighting back. And I had an ally who understood exactly why this mattered. My phone rang as I drove home. Margaret. Simone? Good news. Jonathan's lawyer says he'll sign the separation agreement with only minor modifications. We can have this finalized within 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Faster than I'd expected. That's great. There's one thing though. He wants to keep the house. Absolutely not. We agreed to sell it and split the proceeds. His lawyer is arguing that since he has the higher income, he should get the option to buy you out. At what price? They're offering below market value. I already told them no. Good. He doesn't get to steal my mother's necklace and then lowball me on the house. That's what I thought. I'll push back harder. But Simone? This could delay the separation if he fights us on this. Then he fights us. I'm not giving in. Okay. I'll call you after I respond to his lawyer. After we hung up, I realized I was gripping the steering wheel hard enough to hurt. Jonathan wanted the house. The house we'd bought together, that I'd fallen in love with, that I'd decorated and maintained and poured myself into for 3 years. Of course he wanted it. He wanted everything. He wanted to keep his comfortable life, his girlfriend, his reputation, and now the house too. Well, he couldn't have all of it. He was going to have to choose. And if he wanted to fight me on this, I'd fight back. With Thomas helping me, with Margaret representing me, and with all the evidence I'd gathered, I was ready for whatever came next. Jonathan thought he could control the situation. He thought he could manipulate the outcome to his advantage. He was wrong. I spent the entire weekend organizing evidence. Every document, every screenshot, every receipt went into labeled folders on my laptop and backed up to 3 different cloud accounts. I wasn't taking any chances of losing information that could help my case. Saturday morning, I spread everything across the dining room table like a detective mapping a crime scene. Which, in a way, it was. The crime of betrayal, documented in credit card statements and hotel receipts. The first folder contained 8 months of suspicious charges. I'd gone back through our entire financial history, highlighting every expense that now made sense in the context of the affair. The sheer amount of money stunned me. Riverside Hotel 3 times. $299 each visit. Harbor Inn twice. $350 each time. Bentley's Restaurant 5 times. Never less than $200 per meal. Canyon View Bed and Breakfast the weekend I thought Jonathan was at a conference. $700 for 2 nights. I added them up. The hotels alone totaled over $3,500. The restaurant bills added another $1,000. And that wasn't counting the jewelry. I pulled up the jewelry store receipts. The $2,000 diamond earrings. A $1,500 bracelet from 6 months ago that I'd found evidence of but Jonathan had never mentioned. And the big one, the $2,800 appraisal of my mother's necklace that he'd somehow rationalized was acceptable to give to his mistress. $6,800 in jewelry for Natalie. Meanwhile, he'd bought me exactly one gift in the past year, a $50 scarf for my birthday that he'd clearly picked up last minute. The numbers painted a clear picture. This wasn't a casual affair. This was a full relationship, complete with romantic dinners, weekend getaways, and expensive gifts. Jonathan had essentially been financially supporting 2 partners, using our joint money to fund his betrayal. I took photos of every highlighted charge, making sure the dates were visible. Then I started a second folder specifically for evidence that contradicted Jonathan's claims about working late or traveling for business. 1 hotel charge from a Tuesday afternoon. His work calendar showed no out-of-office meetings that day. I'd been homesick with the flu. While I was lying in bed feeling miserable, he'd been at a hotel with Natalie. A dinner charge from the night of our anniversary. He told me he had to work late, that we'd celebrate the next day instead. We never did celebrate. But apparently he'd taken Natalie to an expensive steakhouse that same night. The Canyon View Bed and Breakfast charges lined up with his supposed work conference. I found the conference schedule online and confirmed he could have attended all the required sessions and still made it back by 6 o'clock on Friday. Instead, he'd stayed until Sunday, extending his trip without telling me, spending our money on a romantic weekend with another woman. Each piece of evidence hurt. But pain was transforming into something else now. Determination. Resolve. Anger that could be channeled into action instead of tears. My phone rang. Thomas. Hey. How are you doing? He asked. Going through financial records. It's worse than I thought. Yeah. How bad? I told him about the totals. About the money Jonathan had spent on Natalie while claiming we needed to cut back on expenses. Jesus, Thomas said. That's almost $7,000? And that's just what I've found so far. There could be more. Natalie wasn't spending money like that. Or if she was, she hid it better than Jonathan did. But I found something else yesterday. What? Text messages. I managed to recover some deleted texts from her phone. Want to know what they were talking about? Do I? Probably not. But you should know anyway. They were planning to leave us. My heart stopped. What? About 6 months ago. They had a whole conversation about starting fresh together. Leaving their spouses, getting a place together, going public with their relationship. Why didn't they? Money apparently. Neither of them wanted to deal with separation settlements. They decided to keep the affair going secretly instead. I sat down heavily in the dining room chair. They'd planned to leave. Jonathan had actively discussed leaving me for Natalie. They'd only stayed because it was financially inconvenient to divorce. Forward me those texts, I said. Already did. Check your email. I pulled up my phone and there they were. Jonathan's words, planning a future with another woman while I cooked his dinner and washed his clothes and supported his career. This is good evidence, I said, my voice hollow. That's what I thought. Shows premeditation. Shows it wasn't just a physical affair but an emotional one too. My lawyer is going to love this. Mine already does. I sent them to him last night. After we hung up, I sat staring at the text messages on my phone. Reading Jonathan's words about building a life with Natalie. About how much happier he'd be. About how he just needed to figure out the logistics of leaving me. Logistics. That's what I'd become to him. An inconvenient logistics problem standing between him and his happiness. I added the text messages to my evidence folders. Then I did something I'd been avoiding. I looked up Jonathan's company directory and found HR's contact information. The email I composed was brief and professional. To whom it may concern, I'm writing to inform you of an ongoing affair between two employees in the finance department that may represent a conflict of interest for the company. Jonathan Reed and Natalie Harrison have been engaged in a relationship for approximately 10 months, including use of company time and possibly company resources. While this is primarily a personal matter, I wanted to make you aware in case it impacts their professional conduct or judgment. I have documentation available if needed. Sincerely, Simone Reed. I stared at the email for 10 minutes before hitting send. Was this too far? Was I being vindictive? Then I remembered the necklace. Remembered Jonathan discussing leaving me in those text messages. Remembered 10 months of lies. I hit send. Their affair had consequences. Real consequences beyond just our marriages. If they were going to coordinate their lies, make plans together, use work as a cover for their betrayal, then their employer had a right to know. Sunday morning, I met with Margaret to go over all the new evidence. She sat in her office, reviewing everything methodically while I waited. This is extensive, she finally said. Very well documented. The financial infidelity alone is grounds for a larger settlement in your favor. And the texts about leaving? Those are gold. Shows intent, shows it wasn't just a moment of weakness. His lawyer won't be able to argue that this was a minor indiscretion if we have proof he was actively planning to leave you for her. What about the house? With this evidence we have leverage. He wants to buy you out below market value, but you want fair market value or you want to sell. If he pushes back, we can make the separation much messier for him by bringing all of this evidence into court proceedings. Will he sign if we threaten that? Most people do. The last thing he'll want is his coworkers finding out the full extent of his financial betrayal. And if you sent that email to HR? I did. She smiled. Then he's about to have some very uncomfortable conversations at work. He'll want this over quickly and quietly. Good. There's something else I want to suggest, Margaret said. Have you thought about pursuing emotional distress damages? Can I do that? In some cases. The theft of your mother's necklace, particularly given its sentimental value and the circumstances of her death, could be grounds for additional compensation. It won't be a huge amount, but it's another pressure point. Let's do it. I want him to understand that his actions have real costs. Margaret made notes. I'll include that in our counteroffer. Now about the timeline. If he agrees to our terms, fair market value on the house, emotional distress compensation, and a 60-40 asset split in your favor given his financial betrayal, how quickly do you want this finalized? As fast as possible. Then I'll present these terms to his lawyer tomorrow and give them 48 hours to respond. If they try to negotiate, I'll make it clear that the alternative is a contested separation with all of this evidence made public record. I left Margaret's office feeling powerful in a way I hadn't in weeks. I had evidence. I had a strategy. I had proof of every lie Jonathan had told. Monday morning, Jonathan left for work before I woke up. Or maybe he'd left early to avoid me. Either way, the house was empty when I came downstairs. My phone rang at 10. Unknown number. Hello? Mrs. Reed? This is Patricia Chong from Sterling Financial's HR department. I received your email this morning. My heart rate spiked. Yes. I want to thank you for bringing this situation to our attention. We take these matters seriously. I do need to ask you a few clarifying questions, and I'll need to see some of that documentation you mentioned. I spent 30 minutes on the phone with Patricia, walking through the timeline, explaining about the work trips that became personal getaways, confirming dates. She was professional and thorough, and I got the sense that Jonathan was about to face serious consequences at work. One more thing, Patricia said before we hung up. I want to let you know that Natalie Harrison resigned from her position 2 weeks ago, so she's no longer an employee here. I didn't know that. Mr. Reed is still employed with us, and will be conducting an internal review of the situation. This may impact his standing with the company. I can't give you details about our internal processes, but I wanted you to know we're taking this seriously. After the call, I sat on the couch feeling something like justice starting to take shape. Jonathan couldn't just walk away from this. His choices had consequences: legal, financial, and now professional. My phone buzzed with a text from Thomas. Had my final meeting with my lawyer. Filing for divorce this week. No reconciliation, no counseling, just done. I texted back, good for you. I'm proud of you. Coffee tomorrow? I want to coordinate the plan for the award dinner. Definitely. Same place. Yeah. 2 p.m.? See you there. That afternoon, Jonathan came home from work looking shaken. He walked directly to where I sat in the living room. You emailed my HR department? I did. Simone, that could cost me my job. You should have thought about that before having an affair with a coworker and using company time to meet with her. You're trying to destroy my career. I'm not trying to destroy anything. I'm simply making sure the truth is known. You had an affair. You used work as a cover. Those are facts. If your company has a problem with that, take it up with their ethics policy, not me. He paced the room, running his hands through his hair. They're launching an investigation. They want to review my expense reports, my travel receipts, everything. Then you'd better hope you didn't charge any personal expenses to the company card. His face went pale. He had. Of course he had. This is vindictive. You're being vindictive. No, I'm being honest. You lied for 10 months. I'm done protecting your reputation. I have a meeting with HR and my supervisor tomorrow. They're talking about conduct unbecoming and misuse of company resources. I could be fired. Then you'll find another job. You don't care at all? I looked at him, this man who'd betrayed me in every possible way, who'd stolen from me, who'd planned to leave me, and felt nothing but tired contempt. No, I said. I don't care. You made your choices. Now you get to live with them. He left the room without another word. I heard him on the phone upstairs, his voice low and urgent, probably calling his lawyer or maybe Natalie. My phone buzzed. A text from Margaret. Jonathan's lawyer called. They want to meet tomorrow to discuss settlement terms. I think your HR email scared him. He wants this over fast. I smiled. Good. Tuesday afternoon, I met Thomas at our usual coffee shop. He looked different, lighter, like a weight had been lifted. You look good, I said. I feel good. Weird, right? My marriage is ending, but I feel better than I have in months. Not weird. I get it. The lying was worse than the affair itself. At least now everything's out in the open. Exactly. He pulled out his phone. So, the awards dinner is 3 weeks from Saturday. I RSVP'd for 2. You still in? Absolutely. Good. I want to go over exactly how we play this. We spent an hour planning. How we'd arrive together but not make a dramatic entrance. How we'd be polite but not apologetic. How we'd simply exist at the event as 2 people who'd been betrayed by the same 2 cheaters and refused to hide in shame. The key is confidence, Thomas said. We walk in like we belong there. Because we do. Jonathan's the one who should be ashamed, not you. And Natalie, if she shows up. She won't. She doesn't work there anymore, and Jonathan would be insane to bring her. True. But either way, we make our statement. Thomas raised his coffee cup. To taking back our power. I clinked my cup against his. To taking back our power. Wednesday morning, Margaret called with news. Jonathan's agreed to all our terms. Fair market value on the house, the 60-40 asset split, and he's paying $5,000 in emotional distress compensation for the necklace situation. He agreed to everything? His lawyer said he wants this over. The HR investigation has him scared. He's signing the separation agreement today. I sat down, processing. So it's done? Pending signatures and filing, yes. You'll be legally separated by the end of next week. The house will go on the market immediately, and proceeds will be split according to the agreement once it sells. Thank you, Margaret. You're welcome. You fought hard for this. You should be proud. After we hung up, I sat in the quiet house soon to be neither mine nor Jonathan's and felt the strangest mixture of grief and relief. My marriage was over. 8 years gone. But I was free. Free from lies, from betrayal, from the constant pain of loving someone who didn't love me back. I called Thomas. It's official. Jonathan signed. Congratulations. How do you feel? I don't know yet. Ask me in a week. My papers should be finalized within the month. Natalie's still trying to negotiate, but my lawyer's not budging. Good. Make her face what she did. That evening, Jonathan came home and went straight to his room without speaking. I didn't try to engage him. There was nothing left to say. The next morning, I found a note on the kitchen counter. Simone, I know you won't believe me, but I am sorry. Not just for getting caught, but for hurting you. You deserved better than what I gave you. I hope someday you can forgive me, even if you never want to see me again. I'll be staying with Bradley until the house sells. I'll come by for my things next week when you're at work. J. I read it twice, looking for some emotion to surface. Sadness, anger, regret. But I felt nothing. The note was too little too late. Words on paper couldn't undo 10 months of betrayal. I threw it away and started planning my day. I had work, lunch with Renee, and then a meeting with a realtor about staging the house for sale. Life was moving forward, with or without Jonathan's apology. The house sold faster than expected. 3 weeks on the market, multiple offers, and we accepted $115,000 over asking price. I'd be walking away with enough money to put down on my own place and start fresh. Jonathan handled the sale through his lawyer and I dealt with mine. We didn't speak directly at all. He came for his things while I was at work, leaving the house half empty but somehow feeling more spacious than before. I moved most of my belongings into a storage unit and took a short-term rental in a downtown apartment while I searched for something permanent. The change of scenery helped. Waking up in a new space without memories of Jonathan made it easier to imagine a future that didn't include him. Thomas and I met regularly, our friendship solidifying into something real and valuable. He was good company, funny, thoughtful, and refreshingly honest about his feelings. We'd both been through the worst kind of betrayal, and that shared experience created a bond one hadn't expected. Natalie keeps calling, he told me over coffee 2 weeks before the awards dinner. She wants to know if there's any chance of working things out. What do you tell her? The truth. That I'm done. That I can't trust her. That I don't want to spend the rest of my life wondering if she's being faithful. How's she taking it? She cries a lot. Tells me I'm being cruel. But I'm not cruel for protecting myself. She's the one who destroyed our marriage. I nodded. Jonathan sent me an email last week. Long message about how he's learned from his mistakes and grown as a person. In 3 weeks he's grown? Apparently. He also said he understands why I can't forgive him, but he hopes I find happiness. How generous of him to wish you happiness after stealing yours. I laughed. It felt good to laugh about it, to find dark humor in the absurdity of our cheating spouses trying to rewrite history as their personal growth journeys. Are you nervous about the dinner? Thomas asked. A little. Not about seeing Jonathan, I'm past caring what he thinks. But walking into a room full of his colleagues knowing they all know what happened? That's intimidating. They should be intimidated by you, not the other way around. You're the one who handled this with dignity. Jonathan's the one who had an affair and got called out by HR. You're right. I just need to remember that. We'll remember it together. That's why we're going as each other's dates. United front. The week before the dinner, I went shopping for a dress. I wanted something that made me feel powerful, beautiful, confident. Not for Jonathan's benefit, but for mine. I found it in a boutique downtown. A deep blue dress that fit perfectly, elegant but not overdone. When I looked in the mirror, I saw someone strong. Someone who'd survived betrayal and come out the other side. I bought it without hesitation. Thomas and I met the day before the dinner to finalize our plan. We arrive at 7:30, he said. Cocktail hour. We walk in together, find the bar, get drinks. We're friendly to anyone who talks to us, but we don't seek out Jonathan. What if he approaches us? We're polite. Civil. We don't make a scene. We just exist there, together, showing everyone that while he was busy destroying his marriage, we were busy building a friendship. And if Natalie shows up? She won't. But if she does, same approach. Polite, civil, unbothered. I can do that. I know you can. You've handled everything else with more grace than most people could. The night before the dinner, I barely slept. Not from nerves about seeing Jonathan, but from anticipation of this next step. This public declaration that I wasn't hiding, wasn't ashamed, wasn't broken by what he'd done. I was showing up. I was living my life. and I was doing it with my head held high. Saturday evening, Thomas picked me up at 6:30. He wore a sharp suit and looked handsome and confident. When he saw me in my blue dress, he whistled. "Jonathan's going to kick himself when he sees you." "I don't care what Jonathan thinks." "Good. But you look amazing anyway." We drove to the hotel in comfortable silence. I could feel Thomas's tension matching mine, not fear but readiness. We were about to face the people who'd watched our spouses carry on an affair, who'd probably gossiped about it, who'd wondered what we'd do next. Now they'd find out. The hotel ballroom was already crowded when we arrived. I recognized several faces from the party where I'd first seen my mother's necklace around Natalie's neck. Some people glanced at us curiously. Others quickly looked away. We got drinks and found a spot near the windows, surveying the room. "I don't see him yet," Thomas said quietly. "Me neither." We made small talk, both of us scanning the crowd. Then Thomas touched my arm. 3 o'clock. By the bar. I turned and saw Jonathan. He stood with a group of colleagues, laughing at something someone said. He looked the same suit style, same haircut, same gestures. But he wasn't the same to me anymore. He was just a man I used to know. Then he saw us. The color drained from his face. He said something to his colleagues and started walking toward us. "Here we go," Thomas murmured. Jonathan stopped a few feet away. "Simone, I didn't expect to see you here. It's a company event. I was invited." That was technically true. I'd received the original invitation months ago as his spouse. His eyes shifted to Thomas. "And you are?" "Thomas Harrison. We've met. At your request, actually, when you came to get that necklace you stole." Jonathan flinched. "I didn't steal. You took something that didn't belong to you and gave it to another woman." "That's theft," I said calmly. "But we're not here to rehash that. We're here to enjoy the evening." "Together?" Jonathan's voice was tight. "You two are here together? Why not?" "We have a lot in common," Thomas said. "We both believed in marriages that turned out to be lies." "This is inappropriate." "What's inappropriate is having an affair with a married colleague," I said. "What's inappropriate is spending thousands of dollars on your mistress while telling your wife you can't afford nice things. What's inappropriate is planning to leave your spouse but being too cheap to follow through." "Shall I continue?" Jonathan looked around nervously. People were starting to glance over, sensing conflict. "Let's not do this here," he said quietly. "We're not doing anything. We're simply existing in the same space. You're the one who came over here." Thomas raised his glass slightly. "Congratulations on your award, by the way. I hear you're being recognized tonight for team leadership. Ironic, given that good leaders are supposed to have integrity." Jonathan's jaw clenched. "You don't know anything about me or what happened. I know you slept with my wife for 10 months. I know you coordinated lies with her. I know you both planned to leave your spouses but decided staying married was financially easier. I know all of that because, unlike you, I actually did my homework. I'm not discussing this with you." "Then stop talking to us," I said. "We didn't come here for you. We came here because we have every right to be here. You're the one who made this awkward by approaching us." Jonathan opened his mouth, closed it, then turned and walked away. I watched him rejoin his colleagues, saw them lean in asking questions, saw him shake his head and force a smile. "That went well," Thomas said. "Better than I expected. I thought I'd be more nervous." "You were perfect. Cool, collected, completely unbothered by him." "I am unbothered by him. That's the weird part. I thought seeing him would hurt. But it didn't. I just felt nothing." "That's good. That means you're healing." We stayed for another hour, mingling with people who seemed genuinely happy to see me. Several colleagues came up to say they'd missed me at company events, that they hoped I was doing well. No one mentioned the affair directly, but the sympathy in their eyes told me they knew. When Jonathan went up to receive his award, Thomas and I stood at the back of the room watching. Jonathan gave a speech about teamwork and dedication and integrity. I almost laughed at the irony. "Ready to go?" Thomas asked as the applause died down. "Yeah. I think we made our point." We left before dinner service, having accomplished what we came for. We'd shown up. We'd faced Jonathan together. We'd proved that his betrayal hadn't destroyed us. In the parking lot, Thomas turned to me. "Thank you for doing this with me. I couldn't have faced him alone." "Yes, you could have. But I'm glad we did it together. Want to get real dinner somewhere? I'm starving and I'm not going home yet. Too much adrenaline." "Sure. There's a good Italian place a few blocks from here." Over pasta and wine, we dissected the evening. How Jonathan had looked when he saw us together. How his colleagues had reacted. How good it felt to show up and refuse to be ashamed. Can I ask you something? Thomas said halfway through dinner. Of course. Are you glad it ended? The marriage, I mean. Or do you wish you'd never found out? I thought about it. I'm glad I found out. Living a lie is worse than facing a painful truth. At least now I can build something real. Yeah, I feel the same way. It's painful, but it's honest pain. Not the confusion of sensing something's wrong but being told you're imagining it. Exactly. We talked until the restaurant started closing down around us. When Thomas dropped me off at my apartment, he said, "Same time next week for coffee?" Definitely. I went upstairs feeling lighter than I had in months. The confrontation I'd been dreading was over. I'd faced Jonathan, stood my ground, and walked away unbothered. That night, I slept better than I had since discovering the affair. The awards dinner should have been the end of it. Thomas and I had made our appearance, confronted Jonathan, and left with our dignity intact. But 3 days later, I received a phone call that changed everything. "Mrs. Reed? This is Patricia Chong from Sterling Financial. We spoke a few weeks ago about the situation between Mr. Reed and Ms. Harrison." "I remember. How can I help you?" "I'm calling because our investigation has concluded, and I thought you should know the outcome. Mr. Reed has been placed on administrative leave pending a final review by the Ethics Committee. We discovered several instances of company resource misuse, including charging personal expenses to his company card and falsifying travel expense reports." I sat down. "I see. Additionally, we found that Ms. Harrison's resignation came after we'd already initiated termination proceedings. She was aware our investigation would result in her dismissal and chose to resign instead. Thank you for letting me know. There's one more thing. The company is hosting a town hall next week for all employees. Given the nature of this situation and the attention it's received internally, leadership has decided to address it directly. They'll be discussing our ethics policies and the consequences of violating them. Mr. Reed's situation will be referenced, though not by name." After we hung up, I sat staring at my phone. Jonathan's career was imploding. Part of me felt vindicated he'd brought this on himself. But another part felt oddly empty. I didn't take pleasure in his downfall. I just wanted to be free of him. I called Thomas. "Jonathan's on administrative leave," I told him. "The company investigation found misuse of funds." "Good. He earned that. Did I go too far by reporting him to HR?" "Simone, you reported facts. What they chose to do with those facts was their decision, not yours. If Jonathan didn't want to face consequences at work, he shouldn't have had an affair with a coworker and lied on his expense reports." "I know. Don't second-guess yourself. He made his choices. You're just refusing to cover for him anymore." Thomas was right. I'd spent 10 months unknowingly covering for Jonathan's affair by believing his lies. I wasn't going to spend one more day protecting him from the truth. That evening, I received an email from Jonathan. The subject line read, "Please." I almost deleted it without reading. But curiosity won. "Simone, I know you don't owe me anything, but I'm begging you. Please call HR and tell them you made a mistake. Tell them you were angry and exaggerated. My career is over if this investigation continues. I'll lose everything. Please. I know I hurt you, but I can't lose my job too. I have nothing left without my career. Please. J." I read it 3 times. Then I closed the email and went back to cooking dinner. He wanted me to lie for him. To sacrifice my integrity to save his reputation. After everything he'd done, he thought I owed him that. I didn't respond. His email sat unanswered in my inbox, a request I would never honor. The following Monday, I met Renee for lunch. She'd been my support system through everything, calling daily, checking on me, celebrating each small victory in my healing process. "You look different," she said as soon as she saw me. "Different how?" "Lighter. Like you're not carrying all that weight anymore." "I'm getting there. It's weird, some days I'm fine and other days it hits me all over again. But the fine days are starting to outnumber the bad ones." "That's progress. And the awards dinner? You never gave me all the details." I told her about showing up with Thomas, about confronting Jonathan, about how surprisingly unbothered I'd felt seeing him. "I'm proud of you," Renee said. "A lot of people would have hidden at home. You showed up and refused to be ashamed of something he did. Thomas helped. Having someone who understood made it easier." "How is Thomas?" "Good. His separation should be final soon. Natalie's still trying to negotiate, but he's not budging." "Are you too?" She left the question hanging. "Are we what? Together?" "No. We're just friends. Good friends, but that's it." "But could you be more?" I thought about it. Thomas was attractive, kind, easy to talk to. We'd been through hell together and come out stronger. But something held me back. I don't know. Maybe someday. Right now, I'm not ready for anything romantic. I need time to figure out who I am outside of being Jonathan's wife. That's smart. Just don't close yourself off completely. Not all men are like Jonathan. I know. But my judgment was clearly off if I spent 8 years with Jonathan and never saw what he really was. You saw what he showed you. He's the one who lied, not you who failed to detect the lies. We finished lunch talking about other things: her job, a vacation she was planning, a show we both wanted to watch. Normal conversation that reminded me life existed beyond betrayal and separation and revenge. That afternoon my phone rang. Margaret, I have news about the house sale. The buyers have completed their inspection and want to close in 2 weeks. If you're ready, we can finalize everything by the end of the month. I'm ready. Good. You'll receive your portion of the proceeds the day after closing. With the 60-40 split we negotiated, you're looking at approximately $230,000. Enough to buy a condo outright or put a substantial down payment on a house. Enough to start completely fresh. Thank you for everything, Margaret. You're welcome. You were a good client, organized, decisive, clear about what you wanted. That made my job much easier. After we hung up, I opened my laptop and started browsing real estate listings. Small houses, condos, townhouses. Places I could make my own without memories of Jonathan in every room. I found one that made me stop scrolling. A 2-bedroom condo in a neighborhood I'd always loved, with big windows and a balcony overlooking a small park. It was within my budget, available immediately, and felt right in a way nothing else had. I called the listing agent and scheduled a viewing for the next day. The condo was perfect, bright, updated, with space for my furniture and room to grow. I made an offer that afternoon, and it was accepted by evening. I was buying my own place. Mine alone. Not shared with anyone, not compromised on, not haunted by the ghost of a failed marriage. Just mine. I texted Thomas. I bought a condo. He called immediately. That's amazing. Tell me everything. I described it, my excitement bubbling over. I move in 4 weeks. Want to help me paint before I bring furniture in? Absolutely. I'm great at painting. Terrible at decorating, but I can paint. That's all I need. I'll buy dinner and wine. Deal. That night, I sat in my rental apartment surrounded by boxes and planning the life I wanted to build. New home, new start, new version of myself who wouldn't be defined by someone else's betrayal. My phone buzzed. An email from Jonathan's work account. I was fired today. I hope you're happy. You destroyed my career, my reputation, my life. All because you couldn't forgive one mistake. I hope it was worth it. I read the email twice. The bitterness, the refusal to take responsibility, the attempt to make me feel guilty for his choices. I wasn't falling for it. I typed a response. You destroyed your own career by having an affair with a coworker and stealing from the company. You destroyed your own reputation by lying for 10 months. You destroyed your own life by prioritizing your mistress over your marriage. I simply stopped covering for you. That's not the same thing. I wish you luck in your next job, but I'm done being blamed for consequences you earned. Please don't contact me again. I hit send and blocked his email address. Then I called Thomas. Jonathan was fired. I heard. Natalie told me. She's angry at you, by the way. Says you ruined both their careers. Good. I hope she stays angry. Maybe she'll finally understand that actions have consequences. She wants to talk to you. Absolutely not. That's what I told her. Just wanted to give you a heads up in case she tries to reach out. I'll block her if she does. We talked for another hour about nothing important, just the comfortable conversation of two people who'd survived the same storm and were helping each other build new lives from the wreckage. Before we hung up, Thomas said, I'm really glad I found you. Or that you found me. However it happened. Me too. I don't think I could have gotten through this alone. You could have. But I'm glad you didn't have to. That week, I packed up my rental, coordinated movers, and prepared to close on both the old house and my new condo. Everything was happening fast, but it felt right. Forward momentum instead of staying stuck in pain. The day before closing on my new place, I drove by the house Jonathan and I had shared. Someone else would live there soon, make new memories, fill it with their own life. Good. It was never really mine anyway, just a place I'd lived in while married to a man I didn't actually know. My new condo, though? That would be mine. Every paint color, every decoration, every memory made there would be mine alone. And that felt like freedom. Moving day came with unexpected joy. Renee, Thomas, and 3 other friends showed up to help me carry boxes and furniture into my new condo. We painted the bedroom a soft gray, hung curtains in the living room, and arranged furniture until everything felt right. By evening my place looked like home. To new beginnings, Renee said, raising a glass of wine we were drinking straight from the bottle because I hadn't unpacked the glasses yet. Everyone cheered. We sat on my new couch, the first piece of furniture I'd bought, completely on my own, eating pizza and laughing about the day. Thomas caught my eye and smiled. He understood what this meant more than anyone else in the room. This wasn't just moving into a new place. This was reclaiming my life. After everyone left, I walked through my empty rooms, touching walls I'd chosen, standing on floors I'd picked out, looking at a space that was entirely mine. No compromises, no joint decisions, no memories of Jonathan anywhere. I slept that night in my new bedroom, in new sheets on a new bed, and dreamed of nothing but peace. The official separation papers arrived 2 days later. I signed them in Margaret's office, her assistant witnessing my signature. Just like that, 6 years of marriage became a legal document filed away in a courthouse somewhere. "How do you feel?" Margaret asked. "Free," I said immediately. "Is that wrong?" "Not at all. You've been mourning this marriage for months. The paperwork is just making official what was already true in your heart." She was right. My marriage had ended the moment I saw my mother's necklace around Natalie's neck. Everything since then had been logistics. I left Margaret's office and drove to the coffee shop where Thomas and I had been meeting. He was already there, sitting at our usual table. "All signed?" he asked as I sat down. "All signed. Officially separated as of today." "Congratulations. That's an accomplishment. Weird thing to celebrate, ending a marriage. Not the ending, the surviving. You could have stayed, tried to forgive, spent years being miserable. Instead you chose yourself. That's worth celebrating." We ordered coffee and pastries, toasting with our cups to survival and new starts. "Natalie signed our papers yesterday," Thomas said. "My lawyer says the dissolution should be final within 60 days. How do you feel?" "Relieved. Sad. Angry. All of it at once. But mostly relieved. I don't have to wonder anymore if she's lying. I don't have to check her phone or question her whereabouts. I'm just done with all of that." "Have you talked to her at all?" "Once. She called last week, crying, asking if there was any way to fix this. I told her no. She said I'd regret giving up on our marriage. I said the only thing I regret is not seeing who she really was sooner." "What did she say to that?" "Hung up on me. Haven't heard from her since." We sat quietly for a moment, both processing our new realities. "Can I ask you something personal?" I said. "Always." "Do you think you'll ever trust anyone again? Like romantically?" Thomas considered the question carefully. "I think so. Eventually. Not right now, I'm too raw. But I don't think Natalie broke me permanently. She broke my trust in her specifically. But not my belief that good people exist." "I hope you're right." "What about you?" "I don't know. Part of me wants to believe I could trust someone again. But another part thinks I'll always be looking for signs of betrayal, waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's not a fun way to live." "No. But I don't know how to turn it off. Time probably. And maybe meeting someone who actually deserves your trust." I smiled. "You're an optimist. One of us has to be." The following week I settled into a routine in my new place. Work during the day, unpacking and decorating at night, coffee with Thomas twice a week. Slowly life started feeling normal again. Then I got a message on social media from someone I didn't know. "Hi Simone. You don't know me, but I work at Sterling Financial with your ex-husband. I thought you should know that Jonathan's been telling people you had an affair, and that's why he got involved with Natalie. He's trying to rewrite history to make himself look better. I just wanted you to know in case you want to set the record straight." My hands shook as I read it. Even now Jonathan was lying. Even facing consequences for his actions, he couldn't accept responsibility. I screenshot the message and sent it to Thomas. He called immediately. "Don't respond. Don't engage with this." "But he's lying about me. And anyone who knows you will know he's lying. Anyone who matters won't believe him. Don't give him the satisfaction of knowing this got to you. It did get to me. I know. But responding will just feed into whatever narrative he's building. Let him talk. Let him lie. His actions speak louder than his words, and people aren't stupid. They know why he really got fired." Thomas was right. Fighting Jonathan's lies would only drag me back into his mess. Better to let him spin whatever story he needed to live with himself. I thanked the messenger for letting me know and left it at that. That weekend, Renee came over to help me hang artwork. We spent hours choosing placement, measuring, arguing good-naturedly about what went where. "This place really feels like you," she said, stepping back to admire the gallery wall we'd created. "That's because it is me. No compromises, no considering someone else's taste. Just mine. I'm proud of you, you know. The way you've handled all of this. Some days I don't feel like I've handled it well. Some days I'm still angry or sad or just tired. That's normal. You don't have to be perfect at healing. I keep thinking about how long I wasted with him. 8 years I could have spent with someone who actually loved me. But you also learn things in those 8 years. About yourself, about what you want, about what you won't accept. Those years weren't wasted, they were lessons." I wanted to believe her. Maybe someday I would. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Simone? It's Natalie." My stomach dropped. "How did you get this number?" "It doesn't matter. Please don't hang up. I need to talk to you." Every instinct screamed at me to end the call. But curiosity held me on the line. "What could you possibly have to say to me?" "I'm sorry. I know you probably don't want to hear that, but I need to say it. I'm sorry for what I did. I'm sorry for hurting you. I'm sorry for wearing your mother's necklace. I was selfish and stupid and I destroyed everything." "Yes, you did. Both of you did. I lost my marriage, my job, my reputation. I can't even get interviews because word got around about what happened. My family won't talk to me. I have nothing left. What do you want from me, Natalie? Sympathy? I want you to understand that I didn't mean for any of this to happen. It just did. No. Affairs don't just happen. You made a choice every single day for 10 months. You chose to sleep with my husband. You chose to wear my mother's necklace in public. You chose to lie and sneak around and betray both of our marriages. Those were deliberate choices. I know, but there's no but. You did this. You and Jonathan together. And now you're facing consequences. I'm not going to make you feel better about that.